As the traffic. Yeah. 6 minutes is what they said to vacate.
All right, so we're here. We're here at Cal Anderson Park. Uh, helicopters up. The Seattle Police Department are in the park. They're giving an order to disperse. So Seattle Police Department is now giving an order to disperse out here at Cal Anderson Park. I heard 15 minutes. Jake said he heard 6 minutes.
6 minutes is what they said.
6 minutes.
This is Lieutenant Lund of the Seattle Police Department.
All right.
Under the authority of the mayor
Of the city of Seattle.
You are now advised that the park department has closed this park for maintenance.
The park is closed for maintenance.
This is a active park work zone that is closed to the public. You have 15 minutes to remove any
15 minutes to remove.
15, okay.
And pallet or anything that remains in the
We're
park.
giving 15 minutes
obstructing
for
the work
removal.
of the park employee. You may be arrested
You can see them all up on this hillside right here, right next to the volcano.
The park premise now. Any
Looks
material
like bike cops and at least the vehicle back there.
Item that can be stored will be kept up to 70 days. If you are interested in housing support, please call 211 or contact resource tents currently located on Broadway between the Allen Central Bookstore and the Activity Center.
All right. So what we got here, like I said, SPD has given 15-minute order for people to vacate the park. The Seattle Police Department is approached from the north end of Cal Anderson Park. That's Denny right there, right? So weapons are out, is what Jake Gravbrod is saying.
East Precinct, under the authority of the mayor of the city of Seattle.
Yeah, I think it's going to get funky.
We are now advised you that the park department has closed this park for maintenance. This is the active park work zone that is closed to the public. You have 15 minutes to remove any personal property, including tent and pallet, for any that remain in this park area or obstruct the work of the park employees. You may be arrested for criminal trespass. Please vacate the park premises now. Any material left behind will be removed by the city. Items can be stored, will be kept up to 70 days. If you are interested in housing support, please call 211 or contact the resource tents currently located on Broadway between the Seattle Central Bookstore and the Activity Center.
So what we've got right here, that's probably the sheriff helicopter that's up there in the air right now. Seattle Police Department's here in the park. They're giving an order to disperse. They're saying that it's 15 minutes. They've given an order to disperse, saying it's a directive from Mayor Jenny Durkin and from the superintendent of parks. They're giving a 15-minute notice for people to get out the park. They're saying that if someone needs shelter, they're giving a number over here for someone for shelter. They're saying that people's items will be stored for 15 or for up to 70 days, like that. But as expected here, around 7:30 this morning, people figured that the police will be entering the park and entering the park from the north.
East Precinct, under the authority of the mayors of the city of Seattle and the park superintendent, AC Aguirre, we are now advising you that the park department has closed this park for maintenance. This is the active park work zone. This is closed to the public. You have 15 minutes to remove all personal property, including tent and pallet. For any remain in the park area or obstruct the work of the park employee, you may be arrested for criminal trespass. Please vacate the park premise now. Any material left behind will be removed by the city. Items that can be stored will be kept up to 70 days. If you're interested in housing support, call 211 or contact the resource tent currently located on Broadway between the Seattle Central Bookstore and the Activity Center.
All right. Where's Bobby? So Bobby's over there. I'm not sure exactly what you guys are seeing at home. All right, so that's Bobby. So I guess people watching this, you're seeing the other screen now as well. So again, it's most likely the sheriff's helicopter that's up there in the air right now.
East Precinct, under the authority of the mayors of the city of Seattle and the park superintendent, A.C. Aguirre, we are now advising you that the parks department has closed this park for maintenance. This is the active park zone that is closed to the public. You have 10 minutes.
Now we got down to 10 minutes. Just saying to remove anything from the park.
Or anything that remains in this park area obstruct the work of the park employees.
So now as the light has come up, we can see the number of officers that are over here, you know, on the bikes. They're also in the tactical gear. We need to see what kind of mask they're wearing. There's a SWAT officer right there. There's 2 SWAT officers over there.
Or contact the resource tent currently located on Broadway.
So what they're saying is there's a resource tent for people that need resources. There's a resource tent, which they're saying is over there on Broadway. And I believe this will become a spectator event up here on Capitol Hill. We got people in the windows, on the roof, some of everything else. But SPD has formed a line here in the north part of the park. The Bearcat is out as well. So now that the sun is up, we can see that the Bearcat is over there on Olive Street, on Olive and Nagel. We've also got the SWAT out here as well, and then the bike officers. What we don't see is we don't see any masks outside of the regular masks. We don't see any gas masks, at least visible right now.
The Seattle Police Department East Precinct, under the authority of the mayors of the city of Seattle and the park superintendent, A.C. Aguirre, you are now advised you that the park department have closed this park for maintenance.
Saying the park is closed again.
This is the active park work zone.
Got another.
That is closed to the public. You have 8 minutes to remove any personal property.
We're down to 8 minutes now. 7:50. All right. Woo, man. I'm mad I left them gloves at the office, man.
Please vacate the park premise now. Any material left behind will be removed by the city. Items that can be stolen will be kept up to 70 days. If you are interested in housing support, please call 211.
So what they're saying is people can call 211.
Currently located on Broadway between Seattle Central Bookstore and the Activity Center.
Oh man, hold this. My son called me.
We're looking at 7 minutes until the police have said that their go time is going to be. You got more officers showing up over here on this side. This is the northeast side of Cal. Northwest side, you got the vehicle, which is probably where they're making the announcements actually from. Some protesters already over here. Back to home.
Son called.
You good?
Yeah, no, he's good.
Making sure you're good?
No, he didn't even know I was up here. He was
This
calling
is Lieutenant Lawrence
to see if
of the Seattle Police
tell me
Department
he hadn't
East
finished the
Precinct.
project he was working on
Under
yet.
the authority
Just
of
wanted
the
to let me
mayor
know.
of the city of Seattle and Parks Superintendent A.C. Aguirre, you are now advising you that the Parks Department have closed this park for maintenance. This is the active park work zone. that is closed to the public. You have 5 minutes to remove any personal property, including tent, pallet, or anything that remain in the park and obstructing the work of the park employee. You may be subject to arrest for criminal trespass. Please vacate the park premise now. Any material left behind will be removed by the city. Items that can be stored will be kept up to 70 days. If you are interested in housing support, please call 211 or contact the resource tent currently located on Broadway between Seattle Central Bookstore
We're down to
and the
5
Activity
minutes.
Center.
Hey, yo, you got a cigarette?
Damn, no cigarette. Nah, I don't smoke, family. So we're down to 5 minutes now. So just to recap everything, what we have here is the Seattle Police Department on the north end of Cal Anderson Park. They showed up as expected right around 7:30. They've given basically an order to clear the park. They said under the authority of Mayor Jenny Durkin and the superintendent of parks, this park is closed for maintenance. They gave everybody 15 minutes to be able to, they say, clear the area, gather their items. They're saying that there's storage available. They're saying that if someone needs assistance with housing, they can dial 211 for housing. What we see up here is quite a few bicycle officers. There's a King County sheriff in the air who's been going on and off with the spotlight. We also see the SWAT Bearcat is out here, and I've personally seen a few SWAT officers that are here on the ground. So
this is Lieutenant Lund of the
this
Seattle
is most
Police
likely the
Department
last
East
morning
Precinct.
or close to it.
Under the authority of the Mayor of the City of Seattle, Park Superintendent Jesus Aguirre, you are now advising you that the Parks Department have closed the park for maintenance. This is an active park work zone that is closed to the public. You have 3 minutes to remove any personal
we're down to
property,
3 minutes here now.
or any that remain in this park or obstruct the work of the park employee. You may be subject to arrest for criminal trespass. Please vacate the park premise now. Any material left behind will be removed by the city. Items that can be stored will be kept up to 70 days. If you are interested in housing support, please call 211 or contact the resource tent currently located on Broadway between the Seattle Central Bookstore and the Activity Center.
And it looks like over here they're threatening the arrest of this particular individual. Yeah. Arrest this guy over here.
Well, so looks like Bobby, looking at the screen here, he's inside now. So Bobby's inside, I'm outside.
This is Lieutenant Lund of the
Chris
Seattle
Rojas
Police
right
Department
there.
East Precinct. Under the authority of the mayors of the city of Seattle, Park Superintendent Jesus Aguirre, we are now advising you that the Parks Department have closed this park for maintenance. This is the active park work zone that is closed to the public. You have 2 minutes to remove any personal property,
2 minute,
tents and pallets.
2 minute warning.
Or any that remain in the park area or obstruct the work of the parks employee, you may be subject to arrest or criminal trespass.
Right, and what you guys are seeing right now is
any material left behind will be removed by the city. The item that can be stored will be kept up to 70 days. If you are interested in housing support, please call 211 or contact the resource tent currently located on Broadway between the Seattle Central Bookstore and the Activity Center.
So now we're less than 2 minutes here. The Seattle Police Department saying that they're getting ready to move towards the park, or they're in the park, but move towards the barricaded area. What you're seeing here on the left, that's my camera. On the right, that's Bobby Stills. Looks like Bobby is, he's inside. So Bobby is inside the barricade. I'm outside the barricade. What we do is, like I said, we got a line of police right here, the bicycle officers. We also see the Bearcat is out here. There's also several SWAT officers. Given about 15 minutes, it looks like we're down to the last few minutes here before the Seattle Police Department moves in. Haven't seen any protesters or demonstrators or homeless advocates or homeless people leave the park. Me personally, within the last 15 minutes. And it also appears to be a line right behind us, about 40 feet behind us. There's a line that's actually forming of, I guess we say, protesters, demonstrators, activists. I don't know, but they're definitely behind us. Nobody's moving here at the moment.
This is Lieutenant
All
Lund.
right, this is a final warning, most likely right here.
Police Department East Precinct. Under the authority of the mayors of the city of Seattle, Park Superintendent A.C. O'Dwyer, you are now advised you that the Park Department have closed this park for maintenance. This is the active park work zone that is closed to the public. You have to leave now. The 15 minutes have expired.
All right, now 15 minutes have expired. We're going to step back.
Anybody that remain in the park obstruct the work of the park employee, you may be subject to arrest for criminal trespass. Please vacate the park premise now. Any material left behind will be removed by the city. Items can be stored will be kept for up to 70 days. If you are interested in housing support, please call 211 or contact the resource tent currently located on Broadway between the Seattle Central Bookstore and the Activity Center.
All right, so time is now expired as far as the warning that they've given. They've said that now that we'll see what happens next. Technically, here's the situation. Situation is this isn't a Seattle Police Department operation. This is actual Seattle Parks and Recreation operation. What the officer said is that if anyone obstructs with the maintenance, people working on the maintenance of the park, and so it'll be real interesting here whether Seattle Parks Department employees or whoever is supposed to be working in the park are going to make themselves present, or if the job is now here on SPD just to sweep people out and go that route. I mean, I don't want to telegraph the outcome, but like I said, this is technically Seattle Parks and Recreation's operation here, and they called the Seattle Police Department for assistance. Seattle Police Department is definitely here in full force. We've got the King County Sheriff in the air, and we got a lot of people that are rallying back here. Now, there's a further barricade back here. I'm now facing southbound in Cal Anderson Park. People that know the park, you see the fountain over here to the right. And facing to the south and further to the south there, you see those lights. That's that play field. A lot of people are used to seeing with Cal Anderson Park. So that's just on the other side of this barricaded area that's here. And so to the left on your screen, that's my camera. To the right, Bobby Steels is actually inside the barricaded area. So yeah. Oh, okay, good. Thank you, Nikki. Producer Nikki Barron up early, man. It's like the whole morning show crew is up way early. So there's Malcontent right there, Chris Rojas. So it's a few photojournalists that are out here on the ground. It's trying to document everything. And there's Hannah Scott from Cairo FM over there as well. So hey, it's a lot of whatchamacalls in this grass, Jay. Nah, man, I'll take that. It's a lot of holes, divots.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just be careful. Don't twist nothing up. Hardest working woman in radio. Over there. So everybody's falling back now. We're now approaching the barricade area. This is the area that's barricaded here. Lots of movement going on inside. Oh, here come the officers. It look like they're making some movement. Yeah, we got to get on some cement. Here they come. So, Seattle Police Department bicycle officers are now approaching the barricade area. We're now halted about 70, maybe 100 feet in front of the barricade. So what? Yeah, here comes the Bearcat. So now the SWAT vehicle has now actually entered into the park. You know, one thing to keep in, is that the Bearcat? No, that's a cruiser. The Bearcat is still over on Denny Street. The one thing people remember with this Bearcat, though, as far as Seattle Police Department crowd control, is that's usually where there's an officer sometimes in there in the turret who has the rubber bullets, I guess they say the foam tip bullets, of what they use, right? And so here comes the bear. Something's moving over there to the left. To the far left, we see something moving that's over there. Unfortunately, usually these outcomes are very predictable. I mean, we'll see what happens today. Yeah, here comes the SWAT vehicle now. It's making its way into the park. So the SWAT vehicle's making its way into the park. We've already seen several SWAT officers out here. The reason why we bring SWAT up is the SWAT, they have the less than lethal munitions. Some of the other officers do as well, but for sure the SWAT officers have the less than lethal munitions. And we talk about the less than lethals. That's the flashbangs. What? Yeah, there we go. Fuck you! This is my neighborhood. Here they go. They're inside the barricade, so they got breached in. SWAT over there on the other side. Bobby's inside. Police are asking remaining people to now leave the park. Leave the park! Leave the park! Leave the park! Leave the park! All of you, leave the park! Everybody, leave the park! Leave the park! Leave the park! Police are continuing their orders to disperse over here. Hey, you get out of the park! Leave the park! You gotta leave the park, dude. Let me go over there to 11. That's fine. I'm gonna walk over to 11. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Thanks, man. Yep. They're asking us to leave this area. We're gonna walk over here to 11. Police tearing down the encampment. SWAT's taking a position inside. So what we see here, bring me back up, Nikki. So this area right over here, we see people getting pushed out. What we haven't seen though, you hear anything? Any flashbangs? We haven't seen any release of any munitions. Come here! Come here! Bro! Come here! Seattle Police Department is taking up position inside the encampment area. Like I said, we see officers from SWAT over here. They're gonna push us out. Come here! Come here! Come here right now! Come here! Oh, where is that shot? Is that right down here? Where is that? That's Seattle Central.
That's up right there. Directly across from us.
That's directly across from us.
Across over here.
Hey, how are you? I'm good. Hey, what's up? So what we see here, I see my shot is back up on the screen. This is inside the encampment area right here. Seattle Police Department taking up position. They are inside the encampment area. It looks like that they've done a push out. So a lot of people either left the area or left as soon as SPD came into the encampment area. Me personally, I haven't heard any flashbangs. I haven't heard any less than lethal munitions. I also haven't seen any arrests as yet. But I mean, what happened is basically the police pushed people from inside the barricade to now outside, and now the police are inside, but all the people they pushed outside are outside. And crazy enough, you know, somebody's watching this right now, be like, "Oh man, Seattle's crazy. It's wild." All the way back there on the playfield, people are jogging and walking their dogs. So for people who live in the neighborhood, a lot of them, this might just be normal, par for the course, because they're down there on the playfield right now. We see more officers now entering the barricade area. Looks like those are SWAT officers that are back there. So there's 4 SWAT officers down. There's their 5th SWAT officer who's now entered into the barricade area back there. Where's Diaz? There's Chief Diaz. Chief!
This is Lieutenant Lyon with the Seattle Police Department. You must leave.
Got anything to say, Chief?
Are you subject to arrest?
So that's Seattle Police now pushing out, saying that we need to leave this area of the park.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
You gotta leave the park.
Time to go.
All right.
Everybody,
Time
you
to
gotta
go.
leave the park. Onto the sidewalk.
Walking.
So now they're pushing out from the inside area to the downside area.
Leave
Just
the
letting
park.
you know, I'm gonna take my time. Just got a bum leg here, man. We now got a flashbang. We hear a flashbang that's gone off now. I don't know if Bobby's is seeing that flashbang where he's at. Now we've got the paddy wagon rolling up over here as well. The Seattle Police Department have now taken a position. They've taken a position down here on Olive. So now they're on 11th and Olive down there. We just heard the release of a flashbang. Bobby looks like he just got an arrest on film. So I guess we could say there's at least one arrest. We saw what appeared to look like Chief Diaz inside the barricade area a few minutes ago. Yelled out to him to see if he wanted to come talk to us. I don't know if he heard us or not. Didn't that look like Chief?
It was.
That was Chief Diaz, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you got him on film?
Yeah, I'll triple check, but I'm positive.
So the chief is here for this operation. We see bicycle officers now retreating. The bicycle officers very well might be retreating, and they might feel that the officers here now have this barricade area secure. Okay, so that was the chief. Seattle Police Department is blocked off Pine. 11th now. I see on both sides on 11th. And I'll be honest with you, at least so far, this has been a very quick operation up here. The police definitely now 100% have control of the actual park area. We've seen at least one arrest. We've heard at least one flashbang. Here goes a move back. They're giving an order for people pushing people off the park. This is, if you know the crowd control tactics you're used to hearing, this move back.
It's slippery right here.
I got you.
It's definitely slippery.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Thanks.
I'd invest in cash just in the money market alone.
Doesn't matter.
It's a public sidewalk. This is a public
So
sidewalk.
move back to the park.
We know you live on the east side. We know you're not part of this community. Wear your fucking mask. None of COVID kills more of you. There's no accountability for you.
Rojas is still over there. Let me go check over there. See what's up.
Mask, Wood.
Yes.
Wear your fucking mask.
And so now we've got Bobby on the other side. Are you able to bring up Bobby, Nikki?
Officer Christ, I never forget a dog training. Officer Matthew, I never forget a dog training.
Go back to your precinct and think about exactly what the fuck you just did here. And I hope you fucking quit your stupid ass job and go find some meaningful place in society. You're so cool, bro. You're such a big ass.
So just to recap, I see we got quite a few people who have now joined the stream. At about 7:30 this morning, the Seattle Police Department entered Cal Anderson Park from the north. They gave an order to disperse. They said on authority, an order of the Seattle Mayor, Jenny Durkin, and the Superintendent of Parks. People had 15 minutes to gather their items and clear the park. They gave about 15 minutes, probably a little bit more than 15 minutes. In that notice, that announcement, they also said that people can dial 211 or go over to Broadway, Seattle Central, if they're in need of housing. And so they came with an order for dispersal. They moved people from officers from the north and from the south and from the east came into the park. Right now, quite a few officers have the park. Now, the park is definitely, the inside of this park is definitely secured by the Seattle Police Department. They've pushed people further out, we see 2 SWAT officers right there. Can you put me on full screen, Nikki?
COVID is a bit too
So
risky.
right there, right in front of me,
So they're sitting on 50
in the gray, those are the officers of SWAT. Anybody ever wanted to see what the rubber bullet gun looks like? Well, I guess sponge tip bullet. That's that right there. But it had appeared, and it looks like Parks is moving in. Whoa, what's going on? Is that the Bearcat down there? Hold on. We're gonna push south. Something just entered the park. Looked like a big vehicle just entered into the park. Did you see what entered the park? Was that the Bearcat?
Oh yeah, it was in there. It was in there for a while. Yeah.
There goes the Bearcat right there. So the SWAT vehicle is now inside over here as well. This is what we're seeing here.
You guys look like fucking goth kids. You look ridiculous. Just to let you know. Goth kids were cool. Not anymore, man. You just look really fucking.
Am I able to pass here, officer? Yeah. The zone's off limits for everybody. So what's the best way to get to Pine? Up and around? Ah, man, that's a lot. There goes the SWAT commander right there. Forget his name, but we've just seen him. So the SWAT commander is in there walking around as well. Again, 7:30. I mean, the whole city knew it was coming. Seattle Police Department showed up, and they now have possession of Cal Anderson Park and securing Cal Anderson Park. Now, I mean, it was from the angle that I saw, it was a pretty seamless push out. You see anything funky, Chris? It was just a push out, huh? What? Yeah. Right. So Chris Rojas, it's hard to hear him through the gas mask, but Chris Rojas said that he didn't see, I think he saw, but we heard the release of one flashbang, or what we call blast ball. We saw at least one arrest, but thus far, the expectation a lot of people had of violence around this operation has not materialized. And believe me, somebody like me has already seen too much of it up here at Cal Anderson. But that being said, what's now happened is the police are inside the park. So who's SWAT's pushing somebody out back there. Yeah. Bobby's up there. Sorry, excuse me. So we're coming back into the park. So the situation now is that the Seattle Police Department.
They're trying to move on somebody.
Hey, man, put that rifle down. Put that gun down. Put that gun down, man. Come on. Nah. You are trying to stay quiet over here, but man, put the gun down. Put me on screen, Nikki. Put them rifles down, man. Nikki. So what we're telling the officers here is they're pulling the rifles out. Is it like, man, you know, come on, we're not there yet. There's no need to point these rifles at people, you know. Especially this group here. They don't been out here the whole summer. They don't see how it goes down. I don't think there's any need right now to be pointing rifles at people.
Don't turn your back to that.
Further push out the park.
Thank you.
Get out of the park!
Hey, put Bobby up side by side, Nikki. So now the issue that this presents here is that SPD.
Can you read that signal on the strap, you fucking asshole?
SPD is now in the park. So there we go with Bobby.
Put that gun down! You put that gun down now! Out of the park! Get out!
Fuck you! No, escort us out. Come on, escort us. You're good at that.
So
right?
what's happening is now Seattle Police Department, they got to hold the park, which means in holding the park, we'll see what happens here. But now they got to secure the park and stay in the park, which is now going to tie up a lot of police resources because they have to stay and secure the park. And
Get your mask off!
yeah, and so that's going to be the next thing here. I mean, clearly protesters are on the street. We've seen more people kind of come up and approach. Man, why are you pointing that rifle? Come on, man. It looks like an arrest over here. We see an arrest being made. Over here. We see a lot of pointings of these rifles up here, whether it's the paintball rifle, the sponge tip rifle, and some of these actual rifles.
Hey, you! Get that gun down! Get that gun down!
Or what? Fuck you!
So I mean, what we have not seen is any real pushback from any of the protesters, demonstrators, housing advocates, or homeless here. You know, we haven't seen any rocks thrown, bottles thrown, anything like that. And for the most part, the police are pushing people back and people are moving. I think that's why people have some kind of issue here when they're pointing the rifles at people, because if you've seen protests here in Seattle, we've seen people hold the line, literally, where the line is held. There is no hold the line here. The police are pushing people here for the most part at will. So, you know what I'm saying? They very well, I mean, they've got the park. And that's what I'm saying is that police are now pushing down to the stairs. And so, like I said, so for people who follow this or don't follow this, the Seattle Police Department now they pulled out the wooden clubs, which is probably a better tool than the rifle. But what I'm saying is that the Seattle Police Department will now have to secure. They have to hold the park. And our understanding is it's going to be for 48 or 72 hours here while they hold the park, and they have to hold and secure the park for maintenance. And so we'll see whenever Seattle Parks Department, and here we go. And now they're going to move in on this man right here. It's quite a lot of officers here. This gentleman refused to leave the grassy area. He's now being arrested. Yeah, no, we saw the chief earlier. We tried to get a statement from him. We see this arrest occurring behind you here. I don't know if that stance there is to block camera view. We've got 3 or 4 officers there. They have this gentleman now on the ground, trying to enact an arrest. We've got another angle on it.
This is my job. You just let me do it. Why is it that all of you are fucking lying? Seriously, why? Go back! Go back! Go back!
So, right there, that's another. Well, my camera's not up. That's another. See the weapon that this officer's holding right there. So that's a launcher.
Go to the sidewalk.
They're pushing back to the sidewalk now.
Go to the sidewalk. Move to the sidewalk.
That arrest is still occurring there on the grass. So now we've personally seen 2 arrests. I don't know if it's more arrests there, but it's at least 2 arrests.
Wear your mask. Move to the sidewalk. Wear your mask. Move to the sidewalk. Wear your mask. Move to the sidewalk.
Well,
You're holding a fucking weapon. We're not afraid of you. You're the one who's afraid. Look at you. You're breathing hard. Look at you. Look, your fucking biometrics are flying high. Look at you. You're breathing hard. You're scared. You're fucking scared. Put your mask on. Little baby looking for weapons and all. Not engaging. You're too coward to be the army. You're in Seattle. Oh. I'm so happy for you. All of you. You think you're heroes? You're fucking scumbag.
we see another paddy wagon coming. And so what has also happened is the Seattle Police Department has moved their barrier or their perimeter that's here on 11th Avenue. They've now moved it up from, from Olive. They're now one more block up. And so we shall see. This arrest is still occurring over here. We see somebody with zip ties.
I don't think that. I think they're okay.
And so the thing is that Seattle police have to now stay here. And so it's almost like an opposite position. You had the homeless, the protesters and everything occupying the park. Seattle Police Department have to stay here until this operation is done. And who knows how long that's going to take, or Seattle, or how responsive or how long it's going to take Seattle Parks Department. They're now taking, they're dragging this person that they arrested is now being dragged out of the park. It's now they're pausing, they're laying him down there on the ground. Can you break this full screen? He's laid down on the ground. He's handcuffed. They might shackle him. They're putting his legs together down there. Okay, they're going to carry him there. So he's being carried out the park. So we witnessed 2 arrests here so far today. We heard the release of one flashbang. Chris Rojas actually saw it. So Chris Rojas saw the flashbang. But what we have here, like I said, man, it's always what's next. So what's next is Seattle Police Department have now committed themselves to be here in the park. We absolutely don't know how long, but the protesters, the homeless advocates, the homeless, they're not gone anywhere. They're here on the sidewalk, and that's who the police are securing the park from. So basically the police have to stay here. This is a big, no matter what, a tie-up of a lot of resources between officers. You see SWATs out here. You've got a King County Sheriff helicopter in the air. And, like I said, if these guys, the order of the mayor closed the park. If you guys remember on July 1st, the mayor actually did, she created a zone and made an emergency order, and she created the Cal Anderson Park zone. And Mayor Durkin actually closed almost 6 blocks to the general public. You couldn't get into this zone. That was right when they cleared the CHOP. You couldn't get into the zone unless you lived here. And so my understanding is such zone has not been created here. What has happened, though, is an order to leave the park. What that also means is that the general public, whoever, they're right here. Then the police have to stay here to secure the park. So again, it very well might be a tie-up here of police resources for a while. We saw this a little bit kind of when they cleared it at CHOP, but it was different because a lot of people were up there at the East Precinct. They got swept out, everything else. Now, you think these people are going anywhere, Jake? No. So they're not going anywhere. So the standoff very well might now have moved from the police being in the park and the people who are in the park now on the street. They've also occupied a yellow house. We did a press conference from over there yesterday. It's on the corner over there of 11th and Denny, 1106 Denny, which is now being occupied. So the nature of it is these guys can't go anywhere. They're securing the park. So this is blue. We don't usually see blue up here out of the East Precinct. I'm not sure where blue is out of. Clearly a big operation for the city of Seattle Police Department. We see Chief Diaz is on the ground. The last time that we saw a chief up here during this type of operation was Chief Carmen Best on July 1st when the CHOP was swept. But clearly, guys think that this is it's a big enough operation here for the chief of police to be on the ground. We're gonna move right over here to Howe, and we see here on Howe Street, and we talked about how the police line had moved up from Olive. The police have now moved up to Howe, and so they've closed off Howe Street, and it looks like behind over there, Seattle Parks Department, and this is Parks Department's operation. Seattle Parks Department, their vans are down there, and it looks like the Parks Department is moving into the park. The Seattle Police Department is extending their barricade. Here we go. Look, we see a lot of people coming down the hill right now. We see a lot of people. I don't know where they're coming from. So now we've got what looks about 40, 50. We got even more people on the top of the hill. And they're in black bloc. They've come down here. You've got more people now who've come down here onto the street. Now here on 11 Hill. And they're chanting to the police to move back. They've got the numbers. Yeah, the tone here is definitely changing. We see more bike cops. More bike. Yep, there goes. Yep. There goes the yellow bandana. So this is the East Precinct. This officer right there to the right, the one right there to the right, we can expect him to come through here. Right there, that one right there in the yellow bandana. We're familiar with quite a few of the officers up here at the East Precinct. And what they're going to do is they're going to try to push back. Now, what we want to look for is who has the special weapons. Right back there. Our tall guy right back there. He's holding a launcher in his hand. They've got the nightsticks out right now, and they've also got the mace canisters out. But there is a launcher that's right back there as well. So now this tactic right here, we see the bike officers lining up in 2 rows. What's going to happen is they're going to part this right here. The officers in the front are going to move out of the way. The bike officers are going to come through, and then the bike officers are going to push everybody out. I would give it like 2 minutes here or less. You see that they're lining up back there right now, and they're going to split the line. The bike officers are going to come through, and when the bike officers come through, they're going to move everybody out. We've got more bike officers now. We've got a definite increase in police activity out here now. We've got an increase in police activity. Also, way more people. It looks like people are making their way here to Cal Anderson Park. We've got a lot. We're seeing a lot of colors. I don't know how well you guys can see this here, but a lot of the officers are wearing different colored bandanas. Now, up here on the Capitol Hill, you're used to seeing the yellow bandana, but we're seeing different colors today. We're seeing blue and we're seeing lime green. These very well might be bike officers from different precincts around Seattle. Like I said, there's a tremendous amount of police resource here on the ground because what you're seeing in front of you, then we're also officers up and down the streets and also officers that are in the park. And now here comes the move back. And again, what's got to happen here is the police are staying in the park. That resource is staying there. Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen it pop off.
He smiles the whole time. He loves this shit.
So what we've seen here in the last few minutes is quite a few people have now come down here in support of the protesters, demonstrators, homeless advocates, homeless, whatever it is. And we've also now seen an increase in bike officers. We now see SWAT officers walking down the hill. So there's more SWAT officers that are walking down Howe Street towards 11th Avenue. You know, it always pops up when SWAT shows up. SWAT has the less than lethal munitions. Unfortunately, people like myself, a lot of journalists, protesters, people in the neighborhood, some of everybody definitely knows about those less than lethal munitions, the flashbangs that have some kind of gas. Is it OSCS? What gas is in those flashbangs? Pepper spray? It's something. It's nasty. I know, it's just nasty. They also have the foam-tipped projectile, commonly just called a rubber bullet. So this group here is surrounded on two sides, maybe three sides, because it very well could be that Denny, the police are down there as well. So this basically surrounded either by police or just basically houses on the side of the street. But the numbers have now increased in regards to the actual protesters. The numbers have increased quite a few. We saw coming down the hill here a little while ago. Oh, okay. So what's going on we got a straggler over there in the park. Over here in the park, we see Parks Department is back there. It's like Parks Department vehicles is back there, and perhaps they're starting their their cleanup of the park. While, like I said, at the same time here, it's a lot of police resources that are out here on the ground because they have to secure the park, which they've done, but they also now have to secure the park and basically keep a parameter. It very well might be a battle of endurance. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what we've seen here before is that protesters stay in the street, the officers stay in the street, the officer resources right here. Sometimes that's even a strategy. So, yeah. You know what I saw today though, right? Is that the law firm that represented ACLU and Black Lives Matter in the case against Seattle, they want lawyers' fees. Ultimately, comes from the taxpayers, $263,000. Mayor, for taking the case to court. The lead lawyer on that case gets paid $785 an hour.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So basically, they want the right. So they want the taxpayers to pay $263,000. Mayor Durkin wants the taxpayers to pay $240,000 for her recall. They're already paying for SWAT's recall. You're looking at like $600,000 going to lawyers. Huh? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I can't even speak on over. You know, the first week or whatever, it was $6 million in like an overtime cost during like the first part of the protest. But just imagine $600,000 in lawyers' fees between the ACLU lawsuit, Mayor Durkin's law fees, and SWAT's law fees. Lord. So. When people talk about where money goes from the city, got into the wrong field. Yeah, that's why I say Kevin Schofield was like, man, we all got in the wrong business. $785 an hour. We definitely see more people arriving here on the ground. And, you know, ultimately, so there's a few things, right, that what has gone through on all of these, speaking of these lawsuits and some of everything else. And so some of those things is that the police, because people are not in the park anymore and their order was to clear the park.
Jay Randall, 2 fucking first names.
Oh, King 5 taking our feed, huh? Okay. Put another overlay up there. Make sure they don't crop out the Converge. Basically, there's some items around the lawsuit, and maybe we can get Kevin. Email Kevin and see if we can bring Kevin on. But because what the lawsuit said is that especially as far as crowd control, they're out of the park. The park was out. But if people are in the streets and they're now protesting, it's now they can't just push people out the street if they're considering this now a protest, right? And so, you know, for them to leave the street here, they have to be able to, it's now changed. They've gone from the park where the mayor gave an order. The mayor gave a clear order. The park is closed. It's been closed since June 1st. We're now out here in the street, in the public street, and there's certain rules around protests in the streets. I'm not a lawyer here. See if you can get Kevin online, because there's certain things that have to happen here. There has to be one. I don't think it's illegal to protest in the streets. So if this is now moved from an occupation of the park to a protest in the streets, the rules have now changed. So. And maybe that's why the commander is now rolled up here, because it's a lot of different things. There has to be, in order to disperse, there has to be a reason to disperse. There has to be declared an unlawful assembly. In order to use less than lethal munitions, there has to be a threat to the officer's life. They can't just corral people around blocks. So the rules have now changed because they're in the public. And as long as this isn't ruled an unlawful assembly, guys very well might stay here all day, and the police stay here all day if there's no impetus for the police to move and the protesters to move. Thus far, we haven't seen anything come across the police line, anything thrown at an officer or anything else. But the rules of engagement have now changed. They've gone from a park that's closed from June 1st, that was under trespass, to now protesting in the streets. So it's a different rules of engagement here. See if you can get Kevin Schofield. Okay. Let me call him. But because it's different rules now, if people are saying that they're protesting in the streets, there's a different order that needs to be given. And if it's not an unlawful assembly is considered if 4 people or more are becoming unlawful. They're throwing rocks, they're throwing bottles, and this and that. We haven't seen any acts of violence. At least we haven't on the protester side here. So it very well might be that people are sitting here for a while. We're going to try to get Kevin Schofield on here, who's actually followed all of these court cases, so we can get an understanding, because the park is one issue. We're no longer in the park, and now people are in the streets. So it's a different set of rules, especially if the people are in the streets are saying that they're protesting here. It's a different set of rules. Hello? I know you're an early riser, man. I don't know if you're able to join us, or at least you can tell me. that went to federal court this summer now come into play have to give you know, you have to get an illegal assembly. You can't move people this way or that way. Okay, so those rules, the rules of protest apply. So what Kevin Schofield is saying is that the rules of protest now apply, and so they have to actually give an order. They have to give an order to disperse. And I mean, this is what I'm seeing so far right now, Kevin, is it's a very peaceful protest that's happening out here, especially compared to what we've seen. The police are ordering people to move, they move. But like I said, I wanted to give you a call because I believe that it now shifts over to protest rules.
Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back! This is our neighborhood. Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back!
So the park is cleared, it's secured. The protesters have moved out here onto the street, and so they're in the street, and we're getting a pushback over here. I'm just curious because you know it gets complicated around all the rules and all that stuff. So I wanted to call somebody who you know who. So are people allowed to protest? Because what the police moved them out the park and told them to go to the sidewalk. They've gathered here in the streets, and now they're moving them further back out. So are they able? Because the order that the mayor came with said the park. Remember back on July 1st, the mayor created a zone. It was the Cal Anderson Park zone, which was 6 blocks that no one could be in. There's no such order on that today. Yeah, but everybody's out the park, though. The park's no longer an issue. SPD secured the park. Right. So people have a right to protest. They don't have a right to protest in a particular location. Okay. Right. 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 Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Hey, Nikki hit you. I know you're an early riser. I'm sorry to wake you up. If you get situated, she might send you a link if you feel like discussing this with the public. But I gotta go now.
You sweet! You sweet!
So what Kevin is saying, it's just murky.
You sweet!
But well, I mean, basically the police.
What are you doing?
The thing is ultimately this line has to end somewhere. You know, I mean, you can't push somebody all the way to Volunteer Park. And so now, as you see, the police are surrounding them. So now the police are behind the protesters. The police have totally surrounded the protest group right here. So basically, out of that conversation with Kevin, what I got is that, yeah, they're now in the streets protesting, and they're protesting peacefully here. It's a pushback, and they're following the police orders. But because it's now, I guess you would say in protest, that the rules around less than lethal munitions are now in effect. It's under the federal court order. So around munitions, so basically, you know, if they're going to deploy any less than lethal munitions, there has to be, it's a checklist of things that have to occur. But as far as police discretion to say, protesters, you're blocking traffic, or protesters, you're doing this and that, then they also have the discretion here to push people back. And I guess that's what's occurring right here. We're going to try to get Kevin back on the line. I think we got some lawyers out there. Sade Smith might be able to give some insight on this. So Well, we want to. We see people moving tents. They're moving the tents out.
It's too bad you have all of your personnel here. I hope all your other stuff is safe. Oh wait, I don't. I hope people fuck your shit up while you have everybody here.
Fuck these assholes.
Why did you stop caring about the people in your city? And only caring about the fucking property?
How many weeks did you practice that? You practiced that a while? Yeah. Whoa!
Fucking officer, run!
Why are you doing that?
Why are you doing
Uh-oh, get the gas mask out. Get the gas mask out. Yeah, I'm ready. You see, it's a real little physical push. Officers pushing people.
The only reason we haven't shot us yet is because there's cameras.
I think one of the biggest things that you see here is you just see such a difference in demeanor. You've got the officer who's right in front, right there, right in front of the camera, who's like, "Please move back, thank you. Please move back, appreciate you, thank you." And then you got another officer who's over there who's just pushed. So it kind of changes across the line here as far as how people, the officers are responding to the protesters and the protesters to the officers. But we're getting pushed back here to the corner, and this corner that's right behind me, this is 11th and Denny. You might remember this is where that orange house is at.
What we're doing is for civil rights.
This is the house behind us here that's being occupied. Yeah, no, they're right behind us. That's what I'm saying. We're totally surrounded here. You know, you've got the police who are now trying to drive a conduit. It looks like they're trying to push people to Broadway. It looks like the officers are trying to push people out to Broadway. You know what I'm saying? And
Trying to quit your job, dumbass.
they've also.
You have to break.
What are you gonna fucking cut off?
Keep a line.
Police are now pushing people westbound. It looks like somebody tore down the banners that were on that occupied house over there too. Now they're pushing protesters on, this is Denny now. So westbound on Denny. Westbound on Denny. That's Broadway up there. You might be able to see the red light. That's Broadway. Now the police are pushing west on Howe towards Broadway.
We protect people. We protect people. We protect people. We protect property. We protect people.
There's something in the air.
You protect property.
Something in the air.
You protect property. You protect people. You protect property. You protect property. You protect people. You protect property. We protect people.
Umbrellas out.
We protect people. We
We protect the people. We protect the people. We protect the people. We protect the people.
You protect property.
We protect the people. We protect the people.
You protect property.
We protect the people.
Where the fucking Lindsay at, you bitch? Ellie.
All day, buddy.
I'll miss you.
All day, buddy. Right here.
Make sure to
put COVID all over that park. Everything. Know that. We put COVID all over everything. You may have COVID now.
All right, so a few things. I got some text messages here. There's actually been no official order. They did say move over here to the west. The only order, clear directive or order was to leave the park. And actually, Seattle police secured the park very fast early this morning, around between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. By 8:15, they basically had control of the park. And now, out here in the streets, protesters here in the streets, some homeless advocates, some people that were homeless. It's a mixed bag, but definitely a line here that has formed this position. But, you know, as far as the park goes, there was an audible message that was given. It gave a 15-minute notice. They did a 15-minute countdown. They, you know, basically they said people were assembled illegally. They said that the mayor, under order of the mayor and the park superintendent, people needed to leave. So now put the park to the side, because clearly the police have control of the park. And so now out here in the street, because this is where they push people out of the park and onto the sidewalk and then onto the street. So here on the street level, there has been no actual clear order. There's different officers saying different things, saying, you know, move this way, but there hasn't been an audible order that's been given out here. There hasn't been any time limit that's been given out here. There hasn't been. I know they invested in the LRAD. There hasn't been any kind of audible direction that's been out here on the street. So even, I don't know, maybe if an order's been given higher up, it definitely hasn't been conveyed out here on the street level. The officers have just been telling people, move back. So, and the reason why I say that is because we've seen all kinds of different orders come out here over the last 6 months, and some orders are very specific. This is now an unlawful assembly. This is now this and that. You move this, you do that. We're not getting that here right now. It's just move back. So you see, it looks like another arrest. So Sergeant pushed this woman over back out of their area there. So, you know, it's police all around here, by the way. So over there at the park, here on the ground. So now here comes the Bearcat. So now they might actually use the Bearcat, the SWAT vehicle. The SWAT officers are now arriving up there. They very well might make an announcement from that vehicle. And here comes the officer out the turret. And usually when they pop that turret, that's when we find the officer who uses the foam projectile. I mean, not here at the moment, but, you know, if you've covered a lot of these, well, there he goes. There goes the weapon. He's got out the turret. He popped the turret. He's got a weapon out up there. I don't know if they're moving in on the house. So to give you another perspective over here, that orange house is right there. SWAT doesn't seem too concerned with the people right here, but SWAT does seem concerned right there at 1106 East Denny. Let's see if they come down here. That was the house that was occupied. Looks like the banners were torn down up there. There were some banners up there. The banners are now gone. SWAT officer, and looks like we got another cruiser there behind it. Whew. I'll take that summer weather anytime, man. This rain and cold is for the birds. They went in? Into the house, huh? So they gone into that. Looks like SPD's going for a 2-for-1 today. They're going into the yellow house where just yesterday we saw some of the people at a press conference there. They said that they wanted to hold on to that house. They used the term by all means necessary. So I told you, SWAT rolled up over there. They didn't seem too interested with this down here. It looks like they're exiting into the house over there. It's been occupied. The banners, you know, when we first walked over here, we pointed the camera and was like, the banners were gone.
For houses, people that had IDs, right? The hotel bathrooms with the people that had IDs. Yeah. They need to do that type of thing. Some of y'all wouldn't understand. You're fucking right. You literally shoot me if I Bobby getting pressed right now on the
Where?
On the other side of the block.
Where is he at? Oh, he's over there. There goes Jake. So we see Bobby. Bobby's over there on that side. So yeah, like SWAT's moved inside the home over there just yesterday. We saw some homeless advocates had occupied that house, 1106 East Denny Way. They said that they planned to hold that house. We've now seen that SWAT has gone out and they're entering the house over there on 1106 East Denny Way. So that is private property. So I'm assuming if the police are going in there, they're entering it, that the police were called to enter that home. You know, it was some things we heard was that the property owner was okay with them being there or not being there. But if the police have come on the private property and gone into the home, then I'm assuming that someone called the police there. We see several helicopters out now. The sheriff is at the low elevation. That's that pool helicopter up there. A lot of the local TV stations share that one. The sheriff is now circling. The sheriff is circling right here at the lower elevation, and you know. Here come, you know what? And here comes that LRAD speaker. Remember, I was telling you guys that if something has to occur, that they have to actually order people specifically to disperse. They have to be able to give time to disperse. They have to give directions of where people are supposed to go and everything else. That necessarily hasn't occurred as of yet. We've only heard the police say move back, move back. Some did give a direction saying move to the west, but the police have to give a very specific direction. And we see now that they've brought in this LRAD. For people at home, that's just a loud-ass speaker. And so I would assume that pretty soon they're going to make an announcement here from the LRAD, and they're going to give orders of where they're now wanting people to go. First of all, they have to tell people what they're doing wrong. They might say that you're blocking an intersection that's blocking traffic to whatever. You need you to move, blah, blah, blah. And then if there's no movement, they can't. They might be able to declare an illegal assembly, but you know this crowd isn't necessarily unruly. So you know a lot of times now, if there's things being thrown, X, Y, and Z, they could call it an unlawful assembly if someone's throwing rocks, bottles, and some of everything else. But what we've seen so far this morning is the protesters have, for the most part, followed all police instruction. The police instructed them out the park. They moved out the park. The police instructed them down the streets. They're down the streets. You know, we see there's a clear demarcation between the officers and the protesters. And definitely by Seattle standards, since this moved into the streets, this has been a peaceful assembly over here by the protesters. So I don't know if an unlawful assembly would actually be what they would call it. And by the way, I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on TV. So we're waiting to see if we can get one on here to actually discuss with us, if we can pop a lawyer in here. Because in Seattle, it's not. I don't believe it's illegal to protest in the streets. Now they might say that okay, well, you're blocking traffic here of X, Y, and Z, and move them out. But like I said, thus far, a lot of the main reasons why protests are deemed unlawful assemblies, as they're saying that things are being thrown and things are being broken. We haven't seen any destruction of property by the protesters, the homeless advocates, or the homeless this morning. And so. We'll see what happens here. We got some gold shields walking in, so they might be checking on. They might be wanting to make a decision over here on something.
Yes, they are. Sorry if that was atheist. I know.
So the SWAT team had actually said something there into the house. They were directing whatever they were saying into the house over there. Couldn't quite hear it. So like I said, we have the LRAD here, which is a pretty good indication that the police are going to make an announcement here. It just depends which announcement that they're going to make, under what grounds. And like I said, thus far, we haven't witnessed anything as far as any kind of violence from the protesters. We haven't seen anything go over the line, anything like that. I mean, we've been here when people have literally held the line. You know what I'm saying? When we say hold the line, like we've held, the line's been held. But protesters have moved basically everywhere the Seattle Police Department has told them to move. At the same time, some assemblies aren't necessarily illegal. So I'm not sure how it's going to break down. SWAT is up there at the Yellow House. They've just now said something else over the speaker. So again, if you're just joining us, a lot of you might have seen on the news yesterday, they held a press conference. There were some housing advocates there. They'd occupied the home there, the yellow one behind the bush in the screen, 1106 East Denny Way. They had occupied the home, said that they wanted to make it into a shelter there for the unhoused. Wasn't really clear if people were already squatting in the house or not. But today, SWAT has come down here, down Denny Way, and the SWAT team decided to make an entry over there into the home that just yesterday or even early this morning was being occupied by housing advocates, 1106 East Denny Way. And so this is what we're seeing here. Can you hold this for a second, D? There you go. Look at the big fingers you got. So what we're doing is now upgrade. So now it's like we got a platform we can bring in a bunch of different cameras, which is cool too because like before the battery died or broke, it was a wrap. So now I can get another phone, put the thing inside. Where is that? Oh, Hugo Black Building. Oh, that's Malcontent, huh? He's over on Pine. So what you're seeing there in the big screen, that's David Obelt. David Obelt of Malcontent Tango. So we've got his feed in here right now. That's David Obelt of Malcontent Tango. David, it looks like he's over there on the intersection of 11th and Pine. That's a corner there, Cal Anderson Park. To right behind him, directly behind him, is Cal Anderson Playfield. He very well might scroll. We're not in contact with well, we kind of are, but not over the air. So it looks like what David is showing us there, Seattle Police Department as well has a perimeter of officers there on 11th and Pine. So 11th and Pine is a pushback over there as well. So you got a perimeter there. Definitely a perimeter right here on Denny, 11th and Denny, all the way up there to 12th and all the way around. So to the left, you're seeing two different views of the same intersection here. This is my camera here on the left. That's Bobby Steele's on the right. Bobby's trying to get a view there of that SWAT activity. The SWAT team is there at 1106 East Denny Way. A lot of you guys might remember that house. There was a press conference there just yesterday. And we'll see here. But again, just to I'm off screen.
Real quick.
You spoke yesterday. You got anything to say to the public?
Spread out a little bit so we can cover over here a little more.
I would say that they're wanting to make this into something that it's not, because first of all, I'm sure you know they've escalated all the violence that has gone us to this.
You want to tell people that, or you just talking about it? Because
just give a little bigger gap.
I don't mind either way.
I gotta do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So I'll catch up with you then, because I know you're working too. So I see you because we talked to you yesterday. We'll talk to you again today.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I was just having a side conversation here with one of the housing activists or advocates, or maybe some of both, that yesterday was at the press conference there at the Yellow House. So we're gonna speak with her here shortly when time permits. So the view that you're seeing here is me and Bobby Steele. We're on opposite sides of an intersection. But recap for a lot of people who might, and there goes Parks, and Parks is deep. You got Parks, and you might have SPU over there as well, but definitely Parks is out here, and it looks like I'll be honest with you. Like I said, the park is going to be interesting here in the sense that the police are securing the park for the Parks Department, which means that the police have to stay here to secure as long as there are people here. And as long as there's people here and the police are here securing the park, means that there's a lot of police resource that's here at the park.
Hey, excuse me. So he said that I have to talk to a supervisor, but he won't.
So it looks like we got a DOC badge out here as well. So we got Washington State Department of Corrections is out here. You guys come out here for it. You got DOC violators, support, manpower. That's cool. I'm just asking in the best way. So we've got Department of Corrections, which is also interesting as well that DOC is out here. I know the Seattle Police Department have a mutual aid agreement with the King County Sheriff, but we see the Department of Corrections officers are actually out here on the ground as well. We haven't seen the King County Sheriff out here, but we see the Seattle Police Department, and just noticing right here that we also see the Department of Corrections is here as well.
Where's your body camera at? Remember?
So I'm sure when this all filters out that we'll probably be able to pose this question to the Seattle Police Department. We've seen DOC on the ground in some previous sweeps. And I don't know if DOC is out here because you've got people in violation of DOC, or if DOC is out here because that's who was available for the Seattle Police Department on this task as far as manpower.
You cowards make more money than engineers with college degrees.
Oh, yeah. You're winning out here.
All of you.
This is insane. What I tell you. Oh, man, we got to get you the one. We got to come out of the office. We can get you the... I got one that'll fit you, too. I got 3X. The gold one. Oh, you're 2X? Oh, okay, well, I ain't giving up my gold one, then. So, ladies and gentlemen, 11th and Denny, this is where it's at right now. The Seattle Police Department arrived around 7:30 this morning. They gave protesters about 15 minutes.
They said on order of Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin and the Superintendent of Parks, this park is closed for maintenance. Gave people 15 minutes to gather their belongings to clear the park. They said that people could dial 211 if they needed housing assistance, or they could go over to Seattle Central. The 15 minutes came and went. Seattle Police Department then approached the park from basically all sides, and they cleared the barricade fairly easy. It was they didn't get pushback. So people that were hoping or expecting violence, we didn't see any violence out here. There was one flashbang that was dispersed that we heard Chris Rojas saw. We have seen a few arrests. I've personally seen at least 2 arrests. I'll check in with Bobby and those guys and see what they've seen over there as well. They're over there across the street. Oh, Kevin's in the green room. Okay. Hold on, let me get my headphones. Your mother only knew. Your mother only knew. Hold this thing. Only knew that you was trusting to get with me. Your mother only All right, Nikki, go to Bobby real quick. I need to set up my audio.
Here's why I walk down the center of the road. I can't pick a damn sign. There are no signs. Me or back. I'm not trying to die. Look at it. Right. I'm not ready to go. Alright, moving up.
Naylor!
Yeah, I gotta go over real quick and let him know.
Hey, yeah. Hey, and also tell him his handle thing is in his backpack. The red handle thing.
Yo, all right. So you got me in, Nikki? Yeah, no, I'm waiting just to see myself. Oh, okay, I am in here. Sorry, I can't. That's why my son. You bring in Kevin? Is Kevin there?
Hey, morning.
Hey, all right, Kevin. What's good? How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I wasn't. I was up late writing last night. Looks like I'm missing the excitement this morning. So I've been talking with communications director at SPD this morning, and she tells me that the dispersal order that SPD has ordered is for the entirety of Cal Anderson Park. At the moment, they have not given any dispersal orders for any protest activity going on in the surrounding streets or sidewalks outside of the park area. So dispersal order is just for the park itself, and it sounds like they've moved everybody out of the park. So, you know, where you are in the surrounding areas, there are obviously people who are protesting.
Right. Yeah, okay, so there's movement over there. So, yeah, and that's what I figured. That's what I was saying, is that people got moved out of the park. Is that the chief right there? People got moved out of the park and then now onto the streets, and now it's people protesting in the streets. There hasn't been a dispersal. It's been a move back. There hasn't been anything there's no call for this is an illegal assembly, there's an unlawful assembly. Now they have brought out the LRAD over there, that very loud speaker, which there very well might be an announcement made. But to this point, there hasn't been any order of dispersal that's made outside of the original order that was in the park.
Right. So SP
go over there where the cops are rushing to.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
So SPD also tells me at this point there's nothing happening at the house. They may have like gone up and knocked on the door or something like this, but at this point, you know, they're not conducting any operation up there. That may change, but at the moment, that's what SPD is telling me.
Right, and you know that's what SPD's telling you. That's great. I only say this, you know, not to throw nobody under the bus, but we've seen lots of stuff come out from SPD that our live stream totally contradicted.
That's right. I understand.
Yeah.
I pointed out to
right.
I pointed out to them that, you know, you're showing live coverage there, and it looked like there are officers going up there.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying. The SWAT vehicle is there. We saw people get out the vehicle. We saw them walk over to the house. So I don't know. If Seattle Police Department is saying that there's no activity going on, we'll just leave it to our viewers. They've had 2 cameras. They'll make their own decision on it.
Yep.
So can you tell everybody, can you refresh everybody? It's been lots of court, lots of stuff in court. And by the way,
right.
We saw how much those lawyers are making. We need to be in court too, man, because they make a lot. Can you refresh everybody as to what the rules now are around engagement between police and protesters here?
Right. So, and just to be clear, I'm not a lawyer on this. So, you know, I'm giving my layman's interpretation of what the law is saying based upon, you know, all the court and police policies that I've read, much of the same stuff that you've read. So, you know, the city is remarkably tolerant for, you know, protests in the street. If there, you know, groups organizing protests are supposed to, you know, request a permit for all that. But, you know, there are a lot of spontaneous permits that obviously happen around the city, you know, every day. And the, you know, the city, Seattle prides itself on being remarkably tolerant of that. So as long as those protests remain peaceful. So it looks like, you know, what's happening out there right now is peaceful protests, and they're going to allow that so long as it doesn't become a barrier to, you know, to traffic or people getting where they need to go. You know, so if a freight truck comes through there, they're going to want people to, you know, potentially get out of the way to make sure the freight truck can go do a delivery.
It's interesting because the police vehicles are already blocking basically all the streets.
Right. So, you know, if they get in a situation where there's a freight truck trying to make a delivery, like to a street, you know, like an Amazon van comes along, I'm not sure what they'll do. That'll be, you know, an interesting thing to see. But sort of beyond that, if there starts to be threats to the personal safety of people there, of officers, or, you know, of threats of property damage, then, you know, they can, 2 things could happen. One, you know, they can take approach where they try to deal specifically with the people causing those issues without sort of disrupting a larger group that's peacefully protesting. And that is, at the moment, their preferred policy of what they're trying to do. That's some changes that have happened over the last couple months. And then if that fails, then they can call something, they can declare something to be an unlawful assembly. They have to announce that. They have to announce a dispersal order. They have to make sure that there are avenues of egress for the people who are there before they announce a dispersal order, and then they have to give people time to actually leave before they start taking action to do that. Now, all that said, police are allowed to defend themselves. So if somebody starts attacking a police officer, that officer is allowed to use, you know, the various levels of force available to them, whether it's, you know, less lethal force, whether it's, you know, pepper spray or their baton or a taser to deal with anybody who's attacking them. If, you know, there are specific rules in place based upon the injunction that Judge Jones put in place about how they can use some of the tools available to them, such as blast balls, and they have to follow those rules, even if they do a dispersal order, even if they, you know, there are threats to you know, safety of people or officers, or, you know, threats of property. There are still rules that they have to follow for how they use, you know, those so-called less lethal weapons.
Right. And now I had a question for you. You might be able to answer it, you might not. But we see Department of Correction officers out here, and you know, in their full tactical gear as well. And you know, I tried to talk to them. They weren't really talking to me.
Right.
I'm just wondering why DOC officers are out here.
Yeah. So, you know, in Washington State, there are a number of different law enforcement agencies that have what are called mutual aid agreements, right? Where they can call in each other for backup if they need to, if they think that a situation is large enough or out of control enough that they need assistance. And it may be that the DOC responded this morning. My guess is that SPD, if they were planning for this ahead of time, made a call out to a number of different agencies to see who had forces available. And who has forces available is going to depend on what's going on in Bellevue today, what's going on with with state highways today, just a whole bunch of what all those other agencies are actually doing. So my guess is that and I'll try to verify this in a minute with SPD, who they made calls out to for mutual aid with. Let me in fact go jump and see if I can do that right now.
Right, and I'll let you do that for a second, and then I'm gonna have Nikki bring you right back in about 5 minutes. There's some action on Nagel, so I'll be right back. Where'd Bobby go? Yeah, there's Bobby down there. Okay. So that was, for people who don't know, that was Kevin Schofield, the wordy and nerdy Kevin Schofield, SCC Insight. You go to his website, sccinsight.com. There's been a lot of coverage around this summer, especially the legal ins and outs, as far as the lawsuits, different legislature, and everything else. So Kevin often comes on one of our shows, Morning Update show, a few other shows, when we want somebody to break down what's in these lawsuits in the federal court, or some of the other stuff that's going on. So we hear what he said, and what he's saying is, there are rules to this now. Perhaps there were rules before, but the rules right now are a bit more detailed as in regards to how the police can move. Right. So what we have right here, this is interesting. D, did you see SWAT get out the car and go to the house?
The final four, no, I saw a few go in, and then I didn't see.
But you saw people go into that house?
Yeah, there was.
Kevin, no, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to cut you short. It's just two different things here. You saw people go from there, right over there. Seattle police officers go up to the house. Kev said Seattle Police Department told them that they're not taking any action on the house. And I know what I saw on the camera, and that's why Bobby went over there as well. And I mean, they even were talking through the speaker to the house. So why?
And there was also a team. I was on the back of the truck that's going on.
Right, but I mean, why they would say when we clearly see right here they're taking no action? Man, I'm saying that's why people have these issues, man. This is like Bobby's over there, Cal Anderson. All right, can you bring Kevin Schofield back, Nikki, before you get out of here? I'll talk to him real quick. All right.
Hey there.
So we were just reconfirming, like, we definitely saw SWAT roll up. I just got out the turret.
I just heard you said I'm checking with SPD on what's going on with that. I just heard the conversation you just had.
Oh, okay. All right. So one thing here, Kevin, is like what we saw before on July 1st when Mayor Durkin created the Cal Anderson Park zone, and she basically locked down 6 blocks. Remember, you couldn't enter Cal Anderson Park zone. It was a total of 10 days. I mean, fortunately for us, our studio at the time was in the zone, so we were allowed. Right next to these precincts, so we were allowed in. That hasn't necessarily been the case here, where the only thing that's basically off limits, so to speak, is the park. But that also means that that's the area that the police are securing. There's a lot of police resources out here on the ground. Clearly, if the police leave, people can just go back in the park. So
right.
the police have to stay here to secure the park. It is a big undertaking here of resources, of police resources that very well depends on the mood of the people here. People might just go home, but they might stay. If they stay in the streets, it keeps the police in the streets. And
Yeah.
it's a resource. We'll see what happens. Parks Department has already entered the park, but if the issue is keeping people out of the park, the police have to stay here to do that, at least for some amount of time.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And the larger question is, what does that mean for police coverage of the rest of the city while this is going on?
Right. And we've seen the bandanas, at least for the bike officers. I don't know for sure, but we've seen the bandanas from different precincts. Because up here in the east, you see a lot of the different bandanas for this particular precinct. So I'm sure there's officers from other precincts that are out here. At least the bike
Oh,
officers.
I'm sure of it. No doubt there are.
Yeah, and so I mean, this is a big tie-up of the resource here. I mean, and whether people are on the pro homeless or people feel like, hey, sweep them all, it's undeniable. But there's a big police resource on the ground here, and I guess it's undetermined to see how long they'll stay on the ground. This is Capitol Hill. This is the flashpoint, the center of the Seattle protest.
Yeah. And Parks Department has said that this is going to be a multi-day operation to clean up the park, right? So is SPD committing to keeping everybody out of the park for the next 2 or 3 days while they do this, right? While they do the whole cleanup?
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, right now you could argue that what police is doing is they have a supporting role to protect the Parks Department staff while they go in and do their work in the park to get it cleaned up. You could understand that as a role for the police in doing that, but how does that play out, right? Are they committed at this point that they're going to have to do that for the entire time that operation is going to is going to be operating in that part, doing the cleanup? That could be again 2 or 3 days doing that.
Well, a big question that hasn't been answered either is that once this park is cleared and cleaned and everything else, then what? I mean, we've seen people come right back into this park 4 hours later, 8 hours later. So it's gonna be interesting to see as to what exactly is gonna be the long-term plan. What's the sustainable plan for Cal Anderson Park?
Yeah, and even short term, when do they open it again? The park is closed, and the park officially has been closed for a long time, right? At this point. So after they get done with the cleaning, are they going to open it up again? Right? And at that point, how do you tell the difference between somebody, taking a stroll through the park and somebody who's, moving an encampment back in? Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to do that. Right?
Yeah.
So there are all these good questions about what makes this sustainable.
Yeah. And like I said, for people might not understand, there is a lot of officers out there because you have perimeters on all these blocks here. Of course, there's SWAT, Bearcat that's right there. You have a brigade that's up there on 12th. We go all the way down there to Pine, where David from Malcontent is at. Where David is at, so Pine is also blocked. You've got a King County Sheriff helicopter that's been up there now for hours circling. There's a tremendous amount of police resource here on the ground.
Yeah, the city council is going to not be happy about this because the city council just came down, on SPD for blowing through their overtime budget. Right? Guess what? This is going to do. This is going to blow through their overtime budget even more this year.
How much has been spent on overtime this year? Kevin?
I'm trying to remember. I think their budget this year was $26 million for the entire year. And that's across a whole bunch of different categories. That isn't just, doing protests like this, but it's also it's flexible money in that, it isn't while they, on paper have it assigned, say, we're going to do this much for sports events. We're going to do this much for, other kinds of arts and cultural events, bumper shoot, all these different things. Obviously, things change over the course of the year and they move that money around in a lot of ways. And they can take money from other line items in their budget and pay for additional overtime with that. It's like, for example, and some of that's for good reason. So like if in years like this where they have higher attrition and they have fewer officers, or COVID's putting a lot of their officers home sick, then they just don't have enough officers to do regular duty on this, and they need more overtime to do that. But they can shift money from sort of regular salary and wages to overtime to compensate for the fact that they're not paying regular officers to regular pay to do this stuff. So saying they got this much for money in the budget for overtime is a little goofy, because it's not quite that cut and dry of like, this is the only money you can spend on overtime. Their budget really is more flexible than that, and it needs to be in some ways.
Right. Well, they're definitely spending it today.
They're definitely spending it today. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what we've seen here is, it's as peaceful gets in Seattle as far as interaction with protesters, advocates, homeless, and the police. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this was a sweep out. We heard one flashbang. We saw 2 arrests. The SPD definitely, they have control of the park.
Yeah.
This is they have it going.
SPD is trying to get me arrest numbers from this morning. We should have that shortly.
All right, cool. Hey, look, Kevin, we're gonna let you go hang out, man. I appreciate you popping in. I know our viewing audience always appreciates it when you're able to give some insight, man.
Okay.
We're gonna go catch up with Bobby Stills.
All right.
So it looks like some people were allowed in by the police to go and gather some belongings. We have some people walking out with tents. That's Bobby Stills over there to the right. So people were able to go and grab some of their belongings, maybe out the park. Some tents. We see people moving tents. Wow.
Don't matter because we're not getting paid $65 an hour.
Wow.
Y'all get paid to sit here and listen. Take some notes. You know Trump's tax cuts for about 3% across the board? Y'all get that right? Y'all might be like, ooh, I get a little bit extra money. Oh, do you even understand what 3% for the rich looks like? Money is exponential. You need money to make money. Money is exponential. That's how it is. That's why it's growing.
All right, so time is there. We see a lot of movement on the bikes over there. It's a lot of movement. I don't know what's going on, but we see a lot of movement behind her. Oh, snap. Somebody got pushed down there in the street. We see an awful lot of officers moving over there. Damn, he hit the ground hard.
Back and forth between the fucking kettle.
So what we saw was SPD on bikes. I mean, it was a big commotion. Then we saw somebody hit the ground in the streets. And then Seattle police look like they're, yeah, there you go. Looks like an arrest being made right here. A few arrests. Looks like another arrest right there.
Be careful.
Yeah. Hey, ask Kevin once he gets the arrest numbers to text them to me. How many people Seattle Police Department is saying they arrested? If he could text me those numbers if they get back to him. We see lots of movement of police through the park. You see they're now grabbing the mace. This is the blue mace right there. That blue bottle is ultraviolet. It burns in the cement. That blue mace it'll paint you. And actually, yeah, they got the blue out. We got hit with that blue on July 25th. All right, so we just heard from Seattle Public Utilities. I want to update everybody. Seattle Public Utilities is not in the park. So SPU is not in the park at this time. They're not here. I don't think they're coming in here today. But we just heard from Seattle Public Utilities. They are not in the park. People moving towards the park. We got a line of protesters here moving towards the park. Okay. They got the blue spray out. Here we go. And what's gonna happen here? Get the gas mask out, man. Well, this is nice. So we see more officers preparing their spray over there.
Stay safe, you guys.
All right, so we're just checking on a few things over here. Is Bobby? Does Bobby have a signal right now? Are you able to bring it up? See where he's at. All right, so it looks like Bobby's down there in the playfield area. Bobby is on Nagel. No, he's not on Nagel. Where is he? He's definitely there on the playfield. So he's south of us. We're on the north end of the park. We're on the north line right here. We're on Barbara Bailey and 10th. 10th and Barber Bailey. Nagel is right there. Broadway is right there where you see those street lights, stoplights. SWAT vehicle, by the way, although we moved down, that SWAT vehicle we were talking about, it's still up there, right in front of the Yellow House, 1106 East Denny Way. Yellow House, you guys might be, what am I talking about? So there was a group of housing advocates that occupied the Yellow House up there, and actually they were trying to open it, or had opened it for shelter for its own house over here. They did a press conference just yesterday. You might be able to find out some of the pages that were on, but SWAT rolled up, and we saw earlier all the banners that were on there yesterday had been ripped down. So it looks like they're carrying. Wow, they got him shackled, huh? Holy cow! Is there something over his mouth? Was there something over his mouth? So they're moving somebody out right there. They're what? Knocked out. Yeah, well, I might just found that. Yeah, no, there she is. I'm sorry. They're taking somebody into the. Okay.
Step this way. Bikes are coming through. Step back. Step back. Step back. Step back. Bikes are coming through.
Look at them! You're hurting them!
So I know that the Seattle Police Department, they'll take this protective position here, but they also block. It's also, but we see a lot of times when an arrest is made that this circle kind of comes around. We'll see if we can get a shot by moving further down this way. We'll see.
All I'm saying is that history doesn't look kind of I just do my job.
So as we see, the officers keep blocking. The officers will come in, and then they'll form some kind of perimeter where it makes it very difficult to actually be able to see inside as to what's going on here. But whoever, the person who's been detained is laying on the ground. See, now you'll see more officers that come in now, and then they'll totally block the view. And that's what we've seen right here, is that now the total view of the person being arrested has been obstructed by the officers. So we're not able. And it's common. We saw that this whole summer. So we got a window right here. So this person's on the ground, currently not really moving too much. Looks like an officer is talking to the person on the ground. We don't see her lips moving, so we don't really know. Who got a knife? Damn. You got a knife? Fuck you got a knife for? Wow. Well, now you got somebody out here with a weapon, the first weapon we've seen today. Police aren't moving, though. So this is interesting. And now they're telling the police that this guy's got a knife. The police are staying. Wow. No, I see he's definitely got a weapon out. We also hear taser out or everything else. So what we got right here, we've got one man who's got a knife out here. He's brandishing a knife. There's someone else with a taser. The police have been informed of what's going on. The police are right here, though. So. Yeah. So he's got it. Yeah, no, I see he's got a weapon. So now, Yeah, this is wild up here. There we go. Now they're bringing it. Yeah. Now we see you got a knife. Believe me, we don't seen it all out here last few months. So now, an officer was talking to the guy with the knife. Now the guy with the knife is leaving. Meanwhile, it looks like the person that was arrested laying on the ground, they're trying to put that person into the paddy wagon. And it's taken several officers to do it. That individual is very limp over there. Yeah. Tonight. I mean, some stuff I stay quiet on here because it's like people see for themselves. People make up their own minds on what they're seeing here. By the way, SWAT Bearcat still up there. He's orange. Yeah, well, saying that they're brandishing a knife. You can't just pull out a knife on somebody. It's the text messages that I was in there. But like I said, man, people seeing everything that's happening firsthand here. So there is a lot of police resource out here, people. Yeah, I need to put that phone on Do Not Disturb. Thank you. Oh, by the way, whoever's right, I think it's all you right now. This phone is going to die soon, but when it does, so you'll lose me probably in about 15 minutes, and I'll come back on the other line. So just to set the scene right here, we're on 10th and Denny, looking eastbound right now on 10th. This is 11th right there, 11th on Denny between 11th and 12th. There's a SWAT vehicle that's right there at 1106 East Denny Way. That's the Yellow House. The Yellow House was occupied by housing activists and advocates. They just did a press conference out in front of there yesterday. We saw police officers go and enter the area. Seattle Police Department was saying something different. I don't know if they've updated their communications around that. And then when we look to the westbound, so people from Seattle, I'm looking towards downtown. That's Broadway right behind me, or right in front of me. And a small standoff over here. Looks like Bobby Stills is over on Pine Street. So he's on Pine. Looks like he's on 11th and Pine. Looks like a lot of activity over there. It's the Seattle Park Department. And again, I wanted to clarify, because I said earlier there was Seattle Parks Department and possibly Seattle Public Utilities. So Seattle Public Utilities reached out to us and said that they do not have anybody in the park. So the people who are in the park today, Seattle Parks Department, who's in the park, and of course the Seattle Police Department. Looks like a lot of parked vehicles over there. What I'm seeing on Bobby's stream. And Bobby is right there on 11th and Pine. You guys might notice the rainbow crosswalk. Looks like David's over there as well. David O'Belt, Malcontent. And that's the view right there of the playfield of
Goggles. Black boots, umbrella. So you had to move up this way so you could go away.
yeah. All right, and so now we see SWAT officers, more SWAT officers on the ground now walking through the park. Bicycle officers, SWAT officers right over here. They it's always calling attention when we see the SWAT officers. Mainly, they're carrying the less lethal munitions. That's when a lot of them with the flashbangs, the foam tip bullets. When all of these things are deployed, it's these officers over here, and you all usually tell SWAT they wear a different uniform than the patrol or the other officers. So, oh yeah, we got to get some water over here, man. Can you play a break for us real quick? I don't mean Bobby Stills, man. We got to take a sip of water and check these phones. So if you can go to a break, we're gonna go to a break right here. We'll be back in probably about 90 seconds.
We're right here at East Precinct. It doesn't get any closer than this right now.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents.
As a small independent media company, we rely on the financial support of individuals and business members to stay on the front lines of the news that's important to you.
All right, and we're back. That was a quick one. You guys see if you can fish out the text me. Let me know what breaks you have in that setup. Helicopter is now. It's the sheriff helicopter is hovering pretty low. It's been there for a minute, right over Broadway. And again, we've just got. I mean, this is something that we might see here all day. And what's up?
You say, want to say he's down there with 3 media outlets rent?
He's on 11th and Pine. Well, you want me to go down there?
Yeah. You want him to go down there?
We've got his camera up. Tell him we can see Bobby's camera.
He's got a picture of him. He wants to...
We can see Bobby's camera. Bobby's camera is live. Tell him to put Bobby's camera on. Can you unmute Bobby? Call Jake back. Tell him I'll do it from here.
Come on, Jake, come over there with me.
There you go. So Bobby.
Who you guys all with? King, Como, and how come Q13 never comes out here? I never see them out here. Is Q13 here?
Yeah, tell Bobby his audio's up. They're live over there. I'm not sure what he wanted us to see.
We would have.
He's streaming out there. If not, I'm gonna just remove from the stream.
Hello. Yeah, I know. I'm on it. Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah, we're gonna come back to Bobby.
On our website, Twitch, and then No, it should be
Thank
through
you.
YouTube.
Nah, yeah, you come back to me. I'm sorry. There you go. You know, Bobby Stills is out there doing what he does best, talking to everybody. I'm not sure what it was that they wanted us to see over there on 11th and Pine. It sounds like Bobby was over there talking to some of the other local media that was there. It's interesting now because it looks like, sorry, my bad. It looks like we're inside the perimeter, and we're inside the perimeter, and Bobby is now outside the perimeter. You know what I'm saying? We're we're inside, and they're outside. So we'll see how this plays out on over here. Yeah, it's it's always interesting conversation over here. It's especially when it comes to on the live stream. You know, I where I come from, you know what I'm saying? And Big D, where we come from, and our parents and grandparents, they ain't have shit on their face. You know what I'm saying? John Lewis went to jail 46 times. You know, 46 times. He ain't have a fucking thing on his face. And guess what? I got the real black block. This skin don't come off. This shit stay. I'm just telling you. You know what I'm saying? You talk this crazy shit to me if you want to. That's the, and you know the wild thing is it's all whatever until the camera sit here and catch the police doing something foul. Then everybody want a subpoena. They want to subpoena all my footage. You know how many lawsuits this footage is in? Good God, everybody got the footage. The business people filed a lawsuit. It's in there. Black Lives Matter filed a lawsuit. The footage is in there. What you call it? What's up, man? How are you? You know what I'm saying? The what you call it? The journalist filed a lawsuit. Footage is in there. The footage is all over the place. You know what I'm saying? When people want it. But I mean, that's not necessarily how this works, man. You know, the camera's here. The camera's here to see what the camera sees, man. You know. Seattle Police Department has now moved back into the park, as in inside the park perimeter. I'm not sure on what's going on the other side where Bobby is at. You know, I don't know. Our parents and grandparents, they ain't run. People don't know. You put in Google, look at that video. You know what I'm saying? Emmons Pettis Bridge, Selma, Alabama. The Alabama State Police beat the shit out of everybody and took them to jail. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a long history. Don't talk to me about history of protest, man. I really get it going. You know what I'm saying? Even right here. So, you know, I mean, these protests ain't nothing compared to, bro, we was over there in Nairobi. We were over there in Kenya, over in the Uhuru Park. Oh, man. Uhuru Park. Man, you know, them guys in Nairobi, man, it'd be anything. They'd be in the park. They'd be like, nah, we ain't having it. Like, this is tame. Actually, to be honest with you, except for like July, there's been a few times here where it's been like, whoa. But compared to the protests that we witnessed when we were over there in East Africa and a few other places, man, this is like, you know, Seattle is, I mean, it's big for Seattle, for US, but yeah, over when we was in Bahrain. Yeah, remember we was in Bahrain? That protest there was wow. Yeah, you know. So you know, we got a lot of perspective on things. But again, huh? Oh man, it's nothing worse than when you it's nothing worse than when your toes are cold. So um right now, and we're gonna see what time it is. What if we got enough time to get to the see if we got enough time to actually get back to the studio. And maybe we'll leave Bobby up here and we'll get back to the studio. So let me double check. So let me set the scene here. And actually what we might do. Yeah, what's up? All right. I've already talked to you. Well, what I was getting ready to say is that at this point, I think we got enough time to actually get down to the studio. Uh, you see what they've done now is the yellow tape, so we're always used to some kind of line up here. It's one thing or another. Bike barricade, orange water barricade, yellow. Remember that? No, you wasn't out here. That one time, man, they kept putting yellow tape across what street? It was some street. It was Broadway. They were putting yellow tape across, and the tape would come falling. Man, I've seen it all out here, to be honest with you. Wow. So let me set the scene here real quick. We'll figure out if we're gonna stay here. I know we'll leave at least one camera up here. We'll head back down to the office or not. But basically, from the top around 7:30 this morning, the Seattle Police Department came into Count Anderson Park. They got a 15-minute order dispersal. They said on the orders of Mayor Jenny Durkin and the superintendent of the park was closed for maintenance. They gave 15 minutes for people to gather their things. They also offered a phone number that people dial 211 or go over to Seattle Central to try to get human services. After the 15 minutes was up, Seattle Police Department went into the park from all kinds of directions. They easily swept the encampment. So, if people thought there was going to be acts of violence or this and that, that didn't occur. We heard one flashbang. To this point, we've probably seen personally with our own eyes at least 5 or 6 people be arrested out of the park. Seattle Police Department pushed everybody mostly onto 11th Avenue, and from 11th Avenue, just a few standoffs, nothing violent, but the police then pushed people from 11th and Olive down to 11th and down to 11th and Denny, and now people are over here in the park. Came up here to what is this Nagel, and so we see the police are in the park. We see some protesters that are up here. It looks like Seattle Police Department. I mean, they're committed at this point. If their job is to secure the park, Seattle Police Department's going to be here probably the whole day. I don't see them not being here. So as long as there's people to secure the park from, we'll see what happens. I think what we're gonna do is we're probably gonna end this broadcast right here. Let me double check. But and let me tell you guys this, right? The viewing audience is out there. I think that we've given everybody a very unique perspective this morning, something that you didn't find from probably any other news outlet. Man, we are out here because people support. Please go to, man, you see the scroll there. Go to where we converge /donate, man. PayPal, Venmo, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Support independent media, man. Support the ground level. We give you a view, ain't nobody else give you. You know what I'm saying? And we survive 100% like off of donations and subscriptions. So if you appreciated our coverage this morning, man, I would ask you to donate to Converge Media. You know what I'm saying? In any capacity. And if you ain't got no money, it's all good, man. We accepting prayers, positive vibes, and good energy. You know what I'm saying? And believe me, a lot of days that's what comes in handy. So we're gonna end this broadcast right here, and then we'll be back at 11 o'clock for the morning update show. Thank you guys for tuning in.